All right, guys, we got a new section to the America Happens website called the Whistleblowers Forum, where you could go on there and anonymously or using your name post anything that you want and contact other whistleblowers to talk about what's really going on out there.
All right, guys, welcome to the latest episode of Blood Money. Today we have a very special guest, Peter Santosh, talking. Did I say that right, by the way? Did I screw up your last name?
Santosh, great man, but I don't know what Tush means. Sorry,
There you go.
I'm laughing straight away.
That's awesome. So yeah, we're here talking about, we've been doing some episodes on this new economic system. We had Greg Chu on a couple of episodes ago, and we're going to be talking about this amazing new economic system that Greg Chu and his team are building in order to liberate us from centralized banks and centralized systems that take advantage of we the people. So how you doing, sir?
I'm very good today. How you doing, baby, yourself?
Great. Thank you. So you do marketing for QPQ, right?
Yes, I'm the CMO for the company. So obviously it's my job to try and get in front of people's eyeballs and get their hearts sparkling about going, there's a new future. We can work together to get a better future, and this is a technology that does that.
Okay, so we talked about the principles with Greg of when it's centralized, when you're dealing with first we had the issue with centralized banks where they take advantage of us. It's almost like a financial servitude slavery. But then we get things like Bitcoin, and we think, okay, that could be a liberation from a centralized system. But lo and behold, a lot of the time when you have a Bitcoin or a meme coin, what's really happening is the people up top are making a whole bunch of money, and the rest of the people are maybe feeling a trickle-down effect. But it's always like a heart center of wealthy elite that are making the most out of it. But this system differs. Could you take us through what QPQ is and why it is a better system, a better economic system than what has been in place before?
Yeah, of course. Starting off with QPQ, they've developed something called, it's Greg and the team have developed something called the Internet of Economics, which is a whole economical fabric for a new way forward to have a better, fairer, ethical, sustainable financial system. Now, it's been built on a technology called blockchain, which is the same technology with the same as Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies that you hear of. Now, one of the big things we wanted to do was when you look at things like Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies, in real simplistic terms, what I do is I always go back to it and go, when can I buy a loaf of bread with it? When can I buy a pint of milk with it? Because it's meant to be a currency. That's why it's called cryptocurrency. But you'll notice none of the cryptocurrencies out there you can go and buy a loaf of bread with. It's not an everyday thing. Now, Bitcoin itself, built on, which is a blockchain technology, the creation of it was ingenious. It was absolutely amazing, but it was actually only a test case. What it could promise the world was absolutely enlightening. It was meant to make a fairer economical system for all, where people could participate in the economical system itself, and it wasn't controlled at the top by a small few with a lot of money and control. So with the creation of Bitcoin, we were trying to look at what went wrong there, because if the idea was great, the technology's there, but you can't spend it as currency. We're going, what was going wrong? What was the things that are wrong with it that we could look at and make it better? And I always sort of suggest, if you think of it as like a bike with square wheels, Bitcoin, amazing technology, but it was like a bike with square wheels. And
by the way, brother, sorry to interrupt you, man. I am really enjoying this because I got to tell you, this is the best explanation I've heard on this, man. You've really you're explaining it in a way where I think anybody could get it. For people out there, we have, I believe it was Blood Money episode 279 with Greg Chu, and some of you guys are going to be on the genius level. Some of you guys are going to have that 160 IQ and above, and you probably have a really high IQ too, sir. But it was hard for me to understand. It took me a while, but this I'm getting, man. So thank you so much. Just keep.
Yeah, and one of the things is, technology economics is it's a pretty boring subject, first of all. So to keep people engaged, it's like, what? Oh yeah, because I mean, in reality, you don't really want to care about how Visa works or how the whole economical and payment system works. You just want it to work. You want it to work, and you want it to be fair. Unfortunately, just now we're in a system which is quite fragmented and it's all messed up. So the creation or the idea of Bitcoin and blockchain was absolutely amazing. But once again, think about it as a bike with square wheels. And it was a test case. It was going, here's an idea which could be for the world to really make the economical systems fairer and as sustainable and not feeding a few at the top and uncontrolled. Unfortunately, the technology wasn't ready. There was flaws with it. Like anything, when you release something for the first time, bike with square wheels, clunk, 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 it's not working. We're not going anywhere. So everything that happened after Bitcoin was everyone was trying to fix it and make it get better and make it go fast or scalable, make it ready for a global scale and make it fast enough so we can buy shopping with it. You can go to the shop and spend it. But what they were doing is, in my eyes, they were getting a bike with square wheels and putting turbo boosters on it and bells and lights in it and new tires in it to try and make it go faster. But you still can't use it as currency. So it comes back to using even the term cryptocurrency. What does that mean? We can't use it as currency. It's a store of value in a way, but it's there. But it left people with the technology and this cryptocurrency. But all you could do is really speculate with it. You can't do anything except buy and sell. And that leads to a big problem because then you're going to get big guys coming in. You're going to get people trying to control the market. And at the end of it, that's what's happened. All people are doing is buying it. You can't spend it. So you've got to just sell it for a bigger price. And then it turns into a game where it's maybe not as helpful as it should have been as a technology was, as a technological promise of saying it's meant to be fairer. And all people are doing is, in a way, robbing each other. In my eyes, they're buying something and selling it to someone else for more. That's what's happening in my eyes.
Wow. So, all right. So what distinguishes this, I guess, QPQ from Bitcoin is that, is it that, it's helpful for, regular sales and that sort of thing, but in the process of like making them, could you talk about, like, we know Bitcoin's farmed, on these big supercomputers. You have to spend a bunch of money on a big computer. I've heard it sucks a lot of electricity. I've heard that to mine a Bitcoin, unless the price is really high at that time, it doesn't even make sense because you're sucking up so much electricity in the computers and this, that. How does this differ? How are these made? How do you make them? How do you use them?
Yeah, well, first of all, the blockchain is called Gajamaru, our blockchain, and the native currency on it is called Gajus. That, like Bitcoin, is the blockchain, and Bitcoin is the currency. And if we compared it to Bitcoin, first of all, we have to fix the square wheels. We're not going to try and put a nitro boost on a bike with square wheels. So we went back to the core foundational part and go, we need to fix it. And as I said, the idea of Bitcoin was amazing. It's nothing. All of us at QPQ, we'll clap our hands to the guy. It was ingenious technology, but it wasn't ready for global or world scale or global economics. So what we did was go, well, we need to fix the square wheels. So all we've really done, without going into the tech itself, all we've done is gone, what are the key problems here? How do we fix them? How do we make this faster? How do we make it lower cost? How do we make it available to people? And we went through these questions in our head and we went, well, if we do that, if we change a code here, if we do that here, and we put some, we put really deep thought to it. And we really thought, well, how do we actually get this to be a currency? And that's what we've done. So the difference is, in a way, we're not really that different from Bitcoin itself. It's like the exact same thing, but we've fixed the technological flaws in it, which are to do with going into coding, going into how it's structured as like a network structure. Once again, I'm not too technical on this, so I'm watching my language so I don't say anything wrong. But we've looked at the scalability and we've looked into the future of going, well, what happened with Bitcoin, what crashed, or it wasn't ready to go forward to a global sort of currency. And we've gone, we need to fix that technological bit there. We need to change the coding language here. We need to think about the flows as it goes into the future, for example, as it starts growing bigger, what's that going to do to the price? I mean, we looked at all these questions, and that's what we've done. We went and applied it, and we made basically a bike with round wheels. So it's exactly the same as Bitcoin, but now it can be used as a currency. In a way, if you're going to imagine it and think what it is, it's Bitcoin, but you can use it. It's fast enough, secure enough, and quick enough to go to a global scale and use as a currency. Now, that's when it gets interesting, because if we can use it as a currency, we've got the qualities of money. What happens next? So, in the current cryptocurrency sphere, what people are doing is buying the cryptocurrency, holding it, trying to sell it and punt it to their mates, and then the price goes up and they sell it and make a profit, and it keeps going on. But nothing's actually happened except people sort of selling something to someone else more. And I know that is quite a very, very basic way of saying it, but that's what it seems like it is to me. What we've done is if you get involved with this, you've got a currency. So the next job is going, well, how can you spend it as a currency? And one of the things what QPQ is doing, and one of the things we're going to build in the blockchain, is all the tools and all the services that people need to start transacting with the currency. For example, you need an eBay style system, which we've called Gaju Markets. You need a payment processor for local shops and small shops, just so people can start accepting and trading the currency. And we've developed a whole suite of tools moving into the future, so we can now introduce this as a global unified currency where it's not controlled or owned by a specific entity, country, or person, or someone with a lot of money.
Because the minute it's centralized, you get into corruption. You get into whoever's controlling it, really controlling you. If you control the currency, you control humanity. I mean, this is something I've heard before. So it's made on basically regular laptops. I mean, from what Greg was explaining, is like you could have an old laptop running this software making QPQ. Is that right? It makes it, and then you could use that in the markets, which you could actually, customize these markets as well. Am I saying that right? Or
yeah, so QPQ, the creators of the Internet of Economics. So coming down to the Gajumara and the blockchain. The way the technology works, we've called it Groot, which is the mint. It's like, think of it as a digital mint. Like just now we've got a printing press and it mints money. So we've now a digital mint, and we've called it Groot. I know you've got a few names to remember here, but anyway, Groot. This is how I'm trying to describe it in language where everyone can understand this. If you call it computable economics, where in a way a computer, like a spreadsheet, is going, well, I've got a pot of gold. How do you start extracting the gold out? And that's called mining. And that's the stage we're actually coming up to just now. We've launched the blockchain and we're going to mining now. Previously, to start mining into like Bitcoin or other blockchains, you need to have quite a large amount of technical savvy, or as it went forward, you need to scale up in large computer. You need to have quite powerful computers. What we've done is made this really accessible to anyone with a standard laptop in the house, and made it so easy that, well, we say that internally, we say our grannies can use it. And that's what we wanted. We wanted that way when your mum phones up and she says, I can't fix the computer and all that, it's all dead difficult, and it's because she's not turned it on or something. It's the same thing, but we've made this granny proof. We've tried to go, we want people, it doesn't matter who they are, we want everyone to have access to this. So we have to overcome this bit where you don't need to be a technological or techie guy or a hardware guy to actually get involved, or I need to buy GPUs and set up these servers. We wanted to go, well, you can do it on your laptop. Anyone can do it on your laptop. So that's, if we want to distribute this currency, which is what mining is, the first start of getting the currency out there, and we want to make it fair and accessible, we had to address that. So we've made it really simple for anyone with a laptop just to run a bit of software and they start mining. And it's that simple.
Wow. And then, okay, so what I'm hearing a little bit about is that, it in a way, it's like Bitcoin would be Apple, and this is more of a PC open system thing. That's kind of, my layman mind is drawing that parallel in that whereas Mac, you need permission to build software for it, to build stores, to build whatever. Once you're in this system, once you're in the Gazoo world, in the QPQ world, you could actually set up stores. You could build. Essentially, it's open. It's an open market where you could build your own different software. I mean, could you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, of course. I mean, the Apple analogy was a wee bit. It wasn't totally correct. Now, if I was going to try and paint a picture of this, it's just going, well, the blockchain is the blockchain, and the first part is we need to get the native currency. The blockchain is Gajumara. The native currency is Gajoos. So the Gajoos is the gold coins, the digital gold. So what we're really trying to do is the first stage is getting the mining part where you can mine and people will start mining. In a way, it's like mining gold. It's bringing the gold out of the gold mine, and that brings it into society in some way. And the miners have got an important role there because they are actually participating in the economical system. They're bringing the gold out of the gold mine in digital form. The next thing we have to do is we need to find a way. Well, we needed to find a way for people to transact. So we're building. QPQ itself is building tools which are going to be Gazoo markets, Gazoo Pay. It's just so local businesses and tradespeople and peer-to-peer buying and selling can happen, because that's what's in the real world. That's what would happen if you had gold. Go, can I trade that for 10 apples? Yeah, of course you can. So that's the first stage, but the technology is built on open source technology, which means that anyone can come in. Like most, this is similar to all other blockchains, where we want people to start going, well, even if we build Gazoo Pay, Gazoo Markets, and other services, the Gazoo wallet to hold your currency in, there's so much to do. The world's a big oyster. The world is huge, and we need people to come in and start building stuff in it we're trying to develop a people first, global, unified system, economical system, where we can do so much, but we want people to come and build on it as well. So we'll provide the tools and infrastructure, but we want people to come and build on that. And that's what we'll be able to, that is what people will be able to do as well. They'll be able to come in and start really becoming creative on this, because it's the first time in history that we've had a change in the economical system in a long time, which is actually geared towards only people, and people own the system in a way. I don't want to say they own it, but everyone owns the system. It's not owned and controlled by one entity or anything. And that's the meaning of decentralization, obviously.
Very cool, man. Is there now, in terms of what this looks like, when people could get involved, if they're a developer, how they could get involved, if they're just interested in mining? I mean, tell us what the near and distant future looks like for you guys.
Yeah, well, so we've launched the blockchain. We're actually in mining ourselves just now, and we're going into a mining phase where we're doing whitelisted mining. Now, we had to make some choices. I mean, if I was going to describe it as in some form of simplicity, in physicality, if we had a gold mine and there's a big gold mine there, and we're going, well, an easy choice for us could have been to get a big investor, and they could come and say, well, we'll give you a big chunk of money and we'll buy a big chunk of gold and we'll distribute it out into society. But then they'd own a big chunk of gold. So we went, well, we need to find a way where it's accessible to people, everyday people first, even our grannies.
Basically, sorry to interrupt you. Like, if we've seen these meme coins, by the way, man. Like, the Trump coin being an example, where it came out, a lot of people dumped a lot of money into it. Nobody really made money. I mean, I'm sure the Trump family made money, the developers made money. But a lot of time, that's what happens. It's very top heavy. And You're seeing this is different.
Yeah, because, so if you just think of this gold mine, we've gone, well, we could let 1 or 2 people, 3 people with big money to come in, or we can let if we opened it publicly and free to everyone, there's always going to be some form of someone out there going to be taking advantage of it. So what we've done is we're going into what we've called whitelisting mining phase just now, where we're saying it's open to all and you can come in, but we're actually giving people, in a way, if it was like you're buying in a way where you're buying a ticket to access the gold mine, and you can only mine a certain amount per day. So we're limiting everyone, even ourselves internally in the company, to only having a certain amount of mineable coins per day. So you can only get, one person can only get a maximum of, let's say, if I just use the fictitious number here, 10,000 gadus a day, if they bought the biggest license. So that means as it spreads, there's no one going to get above a certain level. So we're going to spread it far and wide, but no one can come and have a big controlling stake at the beginning. And that's why it's really important now that people pay attention and actually come in now, because at one point we have to go public and we have to lay it down and say anyone can come in, and we've got no sort of control over this. But just now we are having we're having some form of tiered control here, because we're trying to go, well, we want to decentralize, we want to make it fair for people. So we're limiting access, limiting numbers, and limiting the amount you can mine out of it. So no one, as it spreads, there's going to be certain people who've got the bigger mining license and the bigger bits of gold, but not crazily big. And there's going to be people who, everyday people who might not be able to afford to buy the biggest license and get in a very low cost and still mine gold, but they still get their wee bit. So it's now spreading the currency, but no one's coming in and going, I own 50% of the gold. So that makes it very fair, very ethical, and it basically spreads out really fairly. Whereas in everything else we've seen, once something happens and once these cryptocurrencies go into the market, there's always the big players coming, buying big chunks of it and controlling at the start, where it ends up the same as position as before.
Very cool, very cool. Now, I want to kind of, for the viewers, take a step by step now. You know, they're like, oh, this sounds interesting. What do they do? I know that it's not released until March. I was told in late March, the software. But like, what do they do? What are the action items? What are the things that they need to know in order to be involved?
Yeah, so later on this month, we're going to launch our website. That will have all the information about the different mining packages you can get and all the referral systems we're doing. Once someone gets to the website, you can read about the movement we're trying to cause. First of all, we're really, this is not only about, if we talk about it economically, we could say, look, just think of Bitcoin. Once Bitcoin was released, people got interested in it and slowly got excited about it. More and more people got behind Bitcoin. They put money in, the price goes up, and naturally it's because there's going to be more demand. And it's gone along until now, and it's at 100 grand. In the same way, we're doing the exact same thing, but since we're tiering this mining, it's going in. It's not going to have. You can't go and buy big chunks at the beginning of it when it's really cheap. So when someone comes to that website, we're trying to give people the understanding of the economical benefit they might have individually, but also the what they're getting behind. We're trying to get into people's hearts and their heads and say, listen, do we want? You know that way, Vem. You know that way when like people, you can always hear people. First of all, the psychological part of money and people, there's only this divide where people go, I love money, I want more, I'm greedy, or I hate money, it's really bad and evil. You go, it's just a thing. Why are people like, why is it causing such a divide for something that can actually help everyone grow, help wealth and societies prosper? But it's always this divide and all the thing, people, and there's always, I hate the banks, and it's always this.
Well, to answer that question, is because of centralization. Because the centralization of it, now you have Big Brother, Big Daddy, whatever, really treating you like a serf, like this kind of lesser than them, which this really seems to address. That's why it sounds so cool,
Yeah, so this psychology, we want people to start getting excited about participating in the economical system, because just now, if you went down to most people, what are they going to do? As far as they go, they might buy some shares or something, or they might like get a pension or something. That's as far as it goes. They're not really involved in the creation of the money for which they spend. So the mining is a part to get involved in. It's a really important part, because it means people are participating in the actual economical system itself. Now, we want people on that website to also just get an understanding of going, well, do you want fragmentation? Do you want fractured, controlled economical systems where currency has been weaponized. And I mean, then we've been through wars over and over and over again, and money resources have always been parts of the cause of these things. And my question is always going, have we not learned enough? Now, if you try and get a system, how can we? I mean, the current system works. We can go and buy things. It's working. Is it fair? That's a different question. But how do you come up with a system where it's fair? And QPQ's objective was to really have this resource layer at the top, which is the Gajimara blockchain. This resource layer, we really wanted to have it uncontrolled, unowned. It's been designed for people. So the flaws of greed and the burdensome choices which someone might make, going, oh, I'm in control of pressing that button and it prints more money in the back pocket. I'm not saying anyone's doing that, by the way, but they might be. That part of it it's so unknown to people. So coming back to the Gajimara site, what we're talking about, when people get on the Gajimara site, we're going to try and encourage them to understand the whole point in this movement. The whole point is going, well, everyone complains about the economical system. Here's an opportunity for you to get involved and actually change it. And it's really important, because if you don't jump on board, you're going to get stuck with what you've had you're going to keep getting the same issues you've had before. So this is a way to actually get involved and be a part of history by transforming the system to a new economical system, which is geared towards people and fairity and people owning their own data, their own money, their own stuff, rather than entrusting someone else. And then that person you've entrusted is now controlling you, really.
And we looked at like you said, all the wars, people dying, losing family members, civil strife. It leads to all kinds of not controlling our own currency, of having a centralized system, leads to all sorts of evil and horrible things if you think about it. Is there anything we didn't talk about this topic, Peter, that's worth going over before we wrap up this episode?
No, it's been really good chatting to you, Ben. But I think one of the key things is, guys, what we're really trying to get into people's hearts is going, this is not an opportunity to only get some coins for yourself and think the old cryptocurrency ways, because there's a lot of confusion in cryptocurrency. I really want people to really understand that it's something, you're doing it for humanity, you're doing it for the next generation of humanity. We even say this technology is going to produce currency for the next 5 millennia. It's the next evolutionary step for human beings to actually start uniting globally. Because one of the things, as we mentioned, the wars and stuff, we've already been through the basic understanding of war. It's not very good. People die. It's not funny. It costs a lot of money. Why are we still doing that? So, I mean, without saying it, since the economical system has got that some form of control, and the weaponization of currency has been used and probably still is getting used quite badly, if we don't address that, our kids or our grandkids, our next generation, next 5 generations are probably going to suffer more if we don't fix it now. And I think the most important thing is for people to really understand this is not a thing to just go, I'm getting involved to make money. It's a thing to go, I feel really proud to be human. I feel really proud to actually really not moan about something. The banks are bad, taxes high, blah, blah, blah. It's going, well, if you really want to do something about it, we've done the work, but we need you now to come involved. And if you don't get involved, stick with the old way. If you do get involved, spread the word, and we've got a chance for a better, more loving, more sustainable, more ethical, and fairer future for all,
Man, I really like this. I'll be honest with you, it took a sec for me to get this, and it's probably because I'm talking to guys that are way smarter than me, like IQ-wise. But I really appreciate this, Peter. You broke it down in a way that I think people will understand what we're talking about here, and I know the Apple PC thing wasn't quite accurate. I see a lot of shades of things I've seen in the past that have been quite groundbreaking, like the opening of systems, again, Mac versus PC. I see shades of it, not the perfect analogy. A little bit of what Napster did back in the day, like I'm just saying shades in terms of the groundbreaking nature of what we're seeing here, and definitely, the Bitcoin thing, the cryptocurrency thing, obviously wasn't perfected right from the top, and this could be the perfection of that sort of system. So, thank you for any closing words that you'd want to share, or
I think you just hit the nail on the head. I mean, at the end of the day, listen. We're saying this is Bitcoin final. This is it done. This is what the promise of blockchain was really meant to be. This is what Bitcoin was set out to try and achieve. But as I said before, the limitations there, which you couldn't foresee before. You know that way when people go, you go and develop something, you have to go and test it in a way. We've had 15 years or 16 years now of understanding of the flaws in human behavior and psychology and what people were doing and blah, blah, blah. So now we've had the time to actually look into it and actually create something which is actually what Bitcoin was meant to be in the first place, but without having that sort of that timeline to test it. So, I mean, I say that because I really, really love the Bitcoin technology, and I've known about it a long time, and I've really, really want to honor the people who got involved in Bitcoin in the first place and say, look, we're not against Bitcoin. We're just saying, look, it's not. We're just saying it's not technically viable or ready to go global, and we don't think it will be. We've fixed it, and now it is. So get involved. If you've got any questions, you can always ask me, and it's going to be great.
Awesome. Peter, thank you so much for joining us on this episode of Blood Money. I will see you all on the next episode. Take care.